Well, we're having a big conference tomorrow and the next day. We have 18 international judges from around the world. We got applications from 26 different countries, and it's a truly an international event, and I'm really excited by that conference, which is part of the World Design Capital, and we have judges from Mexico, many judges from Tijuana, and in addition we gave out awards to people from Mexico, Tijuana, and America del Sur. So it is international, but we did try to focus a little bit on this area because of the World Design Capital. Some of those people are right here in the audience today. Some of the judges, many of the judges who have come from many different countries. Now, as I went around the world trying to understand and trying to get people, I discovered all sorts of organizations that were doing this kind of work. They were much more advanced so that they weren't eligible for the prizes as early career, but they were very, very important to us. And let me list them. Oops, my tablet is timed out, so wait a second. Look at my face, it's me. Okay. Here we go. So, one organization, Commit Global, who helps build infrastructure all around the world, especially for immigrants at country borders. Now, they're located in Europe, but headquarters technically in the Netherlands, because the Netherlands are help pay for some of the work they do. But you'll hear from them in a few minutes. Centro 32, Centro 32 from Tijuana, that is doing wonderful work. The Aga Khan Foundation, which is located in Geneva, but with people all around the world. Mostly they work in Africa and Asia, so many Americans have not heard of them, but many of you will have heard of them. And FHI 360, which is an organization based in Washington, D.C., that also is involved in this space, especially for funding. All of these groups are going to be at our conference tomorrow. But today, I brought in Commit Global. Please come to the stage. Now today we're joined by the two co-founders of Commit Global, Olivia Vareja and Bogdan Ivanov. They started in Romania. But as I said today, they're all over the place. And so, let's start. So first of all, Bogdan, could you give us a really quick description of your organization and what you do? But quick, because we want to spend most of our time on policy.
Thanks, first of all, for making us a center stage example here. Our mission is to bring the speed, the scale, and the traceability and the coordination power that technology can bring to the NGO sector and to the first responders, to the people on whose power to respond, on whose efficiency our life depend. When an earthquake comes, when a war comes, when a natural disaster comes. And the crises around the world are becoming more and more. They're multiplying every day, every hour. It seems that we're losing the race. And we came to the conclusion that there's no time or resources to build in silos, to digitize or to build the infrastructure for each organization by itself, or for each country by itself, or for each city by itself, because we're losing time and we're losing money. And 90% of the needs are the same. We were speaking yesterday in the health track about the needs of the health sector and how everything can be put in this 20 kilos luggage, everything that you would basically need to solve 90% of the health problems. And we're doing the same. We're building modular, we're building this Lego blocks. We're designing, we're building, and we're maintaining these Lego blocks of technology. This vital infrastructure for organizations around the world, be it UN agencies, being local NGOs, or being firefighters or first responders in general, to be able to respond to this crisis in real time. In a certain sense, we're a digital Red Cross. The Red Cross comes with the support of your money and your donation to help people in need. We do the same. We offer this technology for free to the Red Cross and to the organizations that need it.
Thank you. Olivia,
Yes.
can you give us a good example, especially for this audience?
Yes, most definitely. I think I'm going to give the example of the first major crisis we've done.
Please hold the
internationally.
microphone. Yeah.
Yes. Hope everyone hears me now. So when the war started in Ukraine on the 24th of February, we were just recovering after 2 years of COVID, after doing a lot of digital intervention in support of people across Romania and in general in Eastern Europe. And when the war started, in the first 48 hours, we've put together one digital one-stop shop, a one-stop platform for refugees to understand where are they coming to, what type of documents they need, how to get access to healthcare, chronically ill patients seeking for different types of medical care, and so on. But what was important about this infrastructure was that we've built it with the expert in the room. And obviously you're thinking the developer, you're thinking the programmer, the engineer, the designer. No, we brought the humanitarian expert in the room. We've understood the refugee journey from deciding to leave the conflict area, leaving your whole life behind, crossing the border to a place you don't know, and getting into a whole new space where you need to survive, not knowing if you're ever going to come back. And then we looked at what the policymakers were doing, putting out legislation, saying how are we going to save these people, how are we going to welcome the refugees, what type of services we need for them. And we've placed them one on top of the other to understand where technology can actually support in this path, and make sure that all refugees have a trustworthy source of information. And one thing that this infrastructure has solved, and as you can see, I'm not talking about the technology behind it because that's not important, it's a means to an end, was that we brought together everybody providing relief for the first time. So it was a one-stop shop, and everybody was talking with the same voice, trying to deflect all the security concerns, like what platform should I trust, what if this information is going to take me in a very bad place, and so on and so forth. And this platform was not just an information website, because behind it, we've equipped the whole infrastructure of Romania, responding to refugees, with a case management system, directing people towards the nearest hospital where they could find the type of support they needed, a housing allocation system, being able to verify every single house to make sure there's not human trafficking threats, and so on and so forth. All done by digital platforms, directing, analyzing the requests coming in, and making sure somebody with a disability gets a proper housing, and so on and so forth. And what it also did, it managed to translate whatever legislation was coming out for people to actually understand what's going to happen to them. The Romanian state took out in 10 days 238 pieces of legislation for the refugees. In Romanian, in a language that not even Romanians would understand, because this is how lawyers work, and legislators as well. And one of our designers sat through all that legislation and turned it into a decision tree to help people understand, how do I register my kid for school? How do I manage to find a translator? How do I go to a hospital? How can I actually, we actually had a case that triggered us to expand this platform, because we had one refugee that came in and said, my father died after I got here to Romania. Where do I bury my father? Can I cremate him? How do I take him back to Ukraine once this is over? And nobody had an answer to that, because we had legislation for burials, just not for this particular type of situation. So what our designers have managed to do was bring this whole reality into the policymakers, saying you need to do better, you need to understand these people continue their lives once they cross the border, and it's not the life of a Romanian citizen, it's not a usual thing, so you need to adapt and regulate so that you can address all these issues.
Thank you. So that raises a whole bunch of questions about the role of policies, and I'm going to turn to Bogdan for that one. So when you get called into a new country, one that you may not even have been in before, but how does the existing policies, which I suspect often conflict with one another, and the places where you don't have policies but people will object, how does that impact your work?
Yeah, so going into countries that we don't know, this is how the idea of the organization came 3 years ago after the intervention in Ukraine. When we met with the head of the UNHCR, he said, oh, I wish we had this in Lebanon. Right now we're in Lebanon and we're helping there as well. But yeah, I would say our work interferes with or influences policy at 3 different levels. The first is the fact that we can look at civil society as this helping force, as these people that help us when we're in danger. But they also hold a lot of data. They also hold a lot of information about us. And to a certain degree, we're in luck right now because civil society is not digitized, because otherwise these data would be in danger. And the fact that we're building a shared infrastructure that is being used by everybody, by the Red Cross or by a local organization that otherwise wouldn't have the knowledge and wouldn't have the know-how to build that standard, that works as a policy positive Trojan horse. The fact that if they use our technology, they also abide to some standards. And we're not only talking about standards of security, of mobile responsiveness, etc., but also standards that are put into how we design these things, to building equity, to building coordination, to building cooperation. For example, the housing allocation tool that Olivia was speaking about, we build it so that it's being used not only by government, not only by the UN agencies, but also by different civil society organizations. So we force the government through the tool that they need to cooperate with local organizations on the ground. The second level is the fact that you mentioned we've been funded by the Dutch government, among others, also by the German government. And when we talk to them, we don't only talk about funding, but we also talk about them changing the way they fund humanitarian work. And putting share and reuse, putting these building blocks at the core of how they intervene. Because, for example, we mapped how many times USAID is financing the same digital product over and over and over again, losing money in the process, but losing time as well, which is vital when we respond to this crisis. And the third level is the fact that for so long in this area of civil technology, the big mistake is that everybody fetishized the role of the engineer. And we did something different. We put the UX designer at the heart of everything. We don't fetishize the role of the UX designer, but we put them at the center of things because we need to understand the problems that we're trying to solve. And it's not classical UX design, it's UX design with a twist, because it's one of the first times that UX design is being used in humanitarian settings, in social settings, in work settings. And we're trying to build standards around the way you do the job of a designer in this type of situation. How do you include everybody? How do you make sure that you prioritize access to everybody or speed? What do you do when these two clashes? And one of the things that we're working together on is a book and a work around what are the standards for this new type of profession and how these professionals should do their work on the ground.
So that's wonderful for several reasons. First of all, there's a role for design, because what designers do is they optimize for people. It's all about human behavior and for quality of life, and most of the types of policies that I see are optimizing for efficiency or cost or schedule or for the practical things in life, but not about quality of life. And that's what designers can bring to the fore, because I believe this should be first, and the other things are all very important, but they should be secondary to quality of human life. So the second thing you pointed out, though, is that when you implement something, you are establishing policy. They may not realize it, but the code that you put into the work and the way they have to insert their data and the way they get access to data and share it and use it is suddenly establishing a policy. And we're discovering that more and more, that the code that puts in all the products that we use have established policies that control our lives, and sometimes not in good ways. So, but it's a sneaky way of having designers introduce good policies to the world through the coding. We're really out of time, but I'll quickly ask Olivia one more thing, which is, okay, you're doing a whole new set of things that no one else has ever established this common infrastructure that then has to be, though, tailored to the individual culture and the group that you're putting it in. So what are the policy implications of this new profession?
Well, I know we're out of time, so I'll be very quick.
Move the
The policy
microphone up.
implications of this brand new profession are that you can bring a lot of knowledge from the border. Our UX designers are every day at the border, in the vulnerable group, working with the pregnant teenage mom that's struggling in poverty in a specific country. And we're bringing all this to the policymakers to make sure that these are included, and when legislation is being built, those things are taken into account. Another very important thing is making sure we don't design anymore from our ivory towers, and making sure that people are on the ground and really understand what they're designing for. Because when reality hits, the need for customization and localization is really important. We may build something as designers that is universal, a case management system, but we need to always understand the social context, the political one, the safety. What safety means in Lebanon is very different from safety in Romania or safety in the United States. So when you do embed all of those principles that we've learned from the design of everyday things and so on, we need to make sure that we design them and we apply them for that local context. And this is one thing that we're trying to build in this new profession, in making sure that designers understand that the responsibility they have when they put technology. Because if your internet banking tool that has been designed by a wonderful designer is not working today, it's okay, you're going to make the payment tomorrow. But if the tool that connects people to transplant and distributes people in houses in a war zone or in an earthquake area, that can't fail. And it's really important to understand the immense accountability and responsibility you have as a designer when you put this type of technology out there. And this is why we need standards and legislation that is built around this way of thinking.
Thank you. Now, we are over our time, but I want one last statement. So, Bogdan?
Yeah, thanks for this. We're doers and builders, and we're offering this technology for free. So if you have an NGO, or if you know an NGO that needs this type of technology, come to us, write to us. Anything from a website to a case management tool to a housing allocation platform. It might not be on the website, but we might have it because we can reuse something that we already have. So come to us.
Thank you, both of you.